Good evening, live stream. Welcome to another edition of Mi Gente on Air. We are here live in the Alpha Media Studios with WSGW 100.5 FM and 790 AM. And I'm excited because we got a great show with a seasoned musician who's going to talk about the New Year's Eve dance and his upcoming performance in Saginaw. But there's so much going on this weekend in Saginaw. Saginaw really has it going on for our Latino community. We've got the Tamale Taste Off, the 12th annual that's going to be happening at New Val Central High School in the gymnasium. And we've got like 12 to 13 tamale makers who are all vying for best tamale maker in the community. And then we've also got the upcoming New Year's Eve dance coming up December 31st to bring in the new year 2023. And that's what we're going to talk about tonight. And then we've also got Saturday, Christmas with Angels. We've raised $25,000. Can you believe that, as an organization, a 501c3 nonprofit? And we're going to be helping out about 138 kids this Christmas and giving them the gift of Christmas. So there's a lot happening. I hope you will join me in the live stream with comments, concerns, and questions, and just make it a part of your show too. So join me when we start Mi Gente on Air.
Welcome to Mi Gente on Air on 100.5 and 790 News Radio WSGW and online WSGW.com. Now, here is your host, Larry Rodarte.
Good evening, Mi Gente, and welcome to another edition of Mi Gente on Air. And you're hearing the music of Motivo. And I am your host, Larry Rodarte. We are nearing the end of year 2022, and I hope everyone has the holiday spirit. This weekend is filled with Christmas with Angels and the Tamale Taste Off, so much that highlights our Latino culture in the Great Lakes Bay region. Saginaw's Latino community is passionate about our tamales. We know this, and we have over a dozen tamale makers competing for the trophy for best tamale makers in the Tri-City Great Lakes Bay region. And Christmas with Angels has raised $25,000 and is able to help 50 families this year. And 138 children will get the gift of Christmas from the volunteer group. That's great holiday news, isn't it? And as we anticipate and celebrate the new year, Saginaw has two New Year's dances, one at the CAC Hall with La Cooperación from Lansing, Michigan, performing, and one at the historic Unión Cívica Mexicana with Toledo band Motivo. And on tonight's show, I'm interviewing talented musician Mr. Rolando Revilla from Motivo. Welcome to Mi Gente on Air. Rolando, how are you?
Larry, I'm doing great. How about yourself?
I'm doing well. Thank you for being a part of Mi Gente on Air tonight. We're excited in Saginaw to be having you come to the upcoming New Year's Eve dance. And I want my listeners to know all about you and the band. So let's start with, who are you? What's your background as a musician, and where do you come from?
Well, first of all, I want to say thank you for allowing us to use this platform to be able to promote the event. And but to answer your question, I'm a native of Michigan. I was born on the west side of the state, a little farming town, Shelby, Michigan, which is north of Muskegon and south of Ludington, right there near Silver Lake, sand dunes. I grew up listening to Tejano music, and that's what my family listened to, and so that's what I wanted to listen to. And so fast forward a little bit, my father and I, we started a family band called Herencia Tejana, because although I wasn't from Texas, my parents were both from Texas, and they moved to Michigan, to Shelby specifically, and that's where they started their family. So I'm the oldest of three siblings, and my dad was a musician as well, and so I I learned from him, and we kind of started our own little family band, and we went for about the better part of a decade. And after that point, I started going to college. I went to Central Michigan University, Fire Up Chips, and I graduated from there. But during my time at Central Michigan, my dad's band, we still were playing a little bit, but it obviously wasn't as busy as it was in the early 90s. We started about 94, so right around 2003, 2004 is when things started kind of winding down. And I happened to meet a very awesome individual whom I love and respect and consider a really good friend of mine, Johnny Vasquez from Tejano Sound Band. And he actually started doing some accordion repair work for myself and for my dad. And it just so happened that around that time when we got acquainted, he was letting me know that he needed a keyboard player in his band because they didn't have a full-time keyboard player. And I told him, well, I can help you guys out. And he was like, well, no, we want somebody who's going to be committed to the group. And so I talked it over with my dad, Rolando Sr., and he's like, well, mijo, he goes, we just have a few more bookings to finish up. And, he's like, I give you my blessing. He goes, you should go. And because there's going to be more opportunities there. And sure enough, I started playing with the Tejano Sound. And shortly thereafter, my dad passed away. And so it was kind of like that was a sealed deal. And I became part of the Tejano Sound Band family for a decade and a half. I was there for like maybe 13 or 14 years. And after that time, during that time, I started doing some production work, of course, recording the Tejano Sound Band albums. And then I picked up some other clients along the way. Of course, this is a real like book report abbreviated version of everything that has happened. But
let me cut in here because there's a lot of information there, and I knew you were with the House Sound, and we love Johnny Vasquez in Saginaw. We really do. He's played many times for us at the Civica, and I want to get this clarified because I try to always make the connection with my guests in terms of why are they involved in Tejano music or whatever. But you said your parents came from Texas. What part of Texas were they from?
Well, my dad's family was a migrating family. They were, for the most part, from Alice, Texas. But my dad was born in Plainview when they were, up north, working some agricultural. I forgot what exactly they were doing, but it was, of course, they traveled and they were a big family. My dad was one of 12 siblings, 11. One of them kind of was born. Was a stillbirth, but at any rate, my mom's family is they are from Edinburgh, Texas, La Familia Ansaldúa, and she was kind of like the one that was more instrumental on like the taste in music because like my dad's side of the family, the Revillas, being a Midwesterner, Mexican American, in those days, any kind of Mexican music was good because it's something that you could assimilate with because it was part of your culture. Los que hablen español, they feel like a sense of connection to the culture. And so what ended up happening was that my mom was more like she was into Mas and La Mafia and all that stuff. And so she's the one that kind of got my dad hip to all that stuff. And then that kind of trickled on into my dad's family. And so like a lot of my aunts and uncles, they would always ask my dad, like, hey, what's the new, what's new, which bands are in and whatever, because, he had kind of like all the good cassettes and all that stuff.
Yeah. Well, in the area that you're from, Shelby, Michigan, and you talked about it on the west side of the state. We know that there's a lot, there's not as much, I guess I want to say, interest in Tejano music on the west side as it is, say, in Lansing, Saginaw, some of those Tejano towns. So how does a guy who's from Shelby, Michigan, get involved so much in the Tejano genre itself?
Well, actually, on the contrary, during the 90s, Tejano, during the big boom, there was always bailes going on. And as a matter of fact, a distant relative, a cousin of my family, La Familia Flores, they used to do dances there at the Shelby Pavilion. It used to be this roller rink that's now a church. But every Saturday during the summer seasons, they would have dances there. It would be roller skating during the day, and then the evening, they would have bands, and they would bring everybody. And again, it was mainly like conjunto bands or tejano, but like there was, I mean, during the mid early to mid '90s, we were booked, pretty solid, like almost every week, and getting paid, a decent amount of money. But then, like most bands, we traveled, right? So we, of course, we played in our community of, Oceana County, Muskegon County, Mason County. But we'd occasionally get called to travel to Lansing or Grand Rapids. We even used to go to Fort Wayne, Indiana, and stuff like that. So, in those days, it was busy enough that even bands that didn't have really a name, that they could, still have somewhat of a successful uh, career, I guess, with music, for as long as, but towards the onset, or the turn of into the 2000s, that's when, people started kind of like getting more marginalized, if that's the right word. Like they started sticking to the bands that they kind of liked, and going to, it's kind of like, older Mexicans, like their we go to this restaurant because we like this, and sometimes we don't like to think outside the box because it's comforting, right? And so in a lot of ways, and not to jump ahead here, but with Motivo, that's kind of like what we're trying to do, is to try to give people a sense of that nostalgia with Tejano music, but also offer it in a newer package, something that's a little bit more fresh, modern,
So,
but that way,
I didn't mean to cut you off there, but
now you're
I
good.
met I met you this summer at a function, a quinceañera. I think it was at the Knights of Columbus Hall with the Banda family, and
Absolutely. Mhm.
yeah, it was wonderful. It was wonderful to see something so fresh. And I had never seen Motivo before. I may have, in the past seen you as a musician. I know there was a number of musicians that were in your band that I had seen before with other bands. I think maybe in the Lansing area, and it was just
Yep.
really refreshing. And I said, this would be a great band for New Year's Eve at the Civica. So tell me your connection, or what your knowledge is in regard to the Saginaw Tejano scene, or even the Saginaw Union Cívica Mexicana.
Oh yeah, of course. And so during my tenure with TSB, Tejano Sound Band, of course, I met a lot of awesome people, a lot of familiar faces. Sometimes there's so many names to remember, but of course, we would play a lot of the clubs over there in Saginaw, but also the private events. And so, and not only that, but there's a big group of musicians in the Saginaw area, the Garcia family, the Lopez family, and the Fulgencios, and they all, we kind of became kind of like a brotherhood. Like, I mean, I don't necessarily talk to these people on a daily basis, but whenever we would cross paths, whether it be at a fiesta or whatever, if we're out supporting somebody and we see each other, and it's just it's so awesome to be able to have that camaraderie, even though we're on the opposite side of the state. Or now, like, I live in Ohio, so I'm hours away, but still, we have that connection. And so because of that, I've played at La Civica for private events, for public events. I helped out once, Tejano Highway 281, when they went to go play at the Civica. I ended up playing with them that weekend. I forgot what other place we had to go where I was
I remember
with them.
that, though. I remember that band in promoting them. So one of the things that maybe I misunderstood was, do you consider yourself then a Toledo band, or is it the combination of where the musicians are from? Where is Motivo, would you say, from?
Larry, I don't like these questions. No, I'm just kidding.
I need
I'm
to
kidding.
clarify, man,
So,
because I'm
yeah,
like, where's this guy really from? Not, I mean, Shelby is where you're born, but where?
right. So I guess we kind of skipped around here. So let me continue on with the story. So while I was, performing with the Tejano Sound Band, I met a lovely lady by the name of Bianca Ramos, who eventually became Bianca Revilla, who's my wife, and her family's from Toledo, Ohio. So moving forward, once I graduated from Central Michigan, my siblings and my mother moved to Texas to be closer to my grandmother, especially since my father had passed away. So I was kind of left in limbo there and not sure where I was going to live. And it just worked out where I ended up moving to Toledo. There was just a lot of opportunities for me to continue working with my career as far as music, to live in Toledo. One person who was really instrumental in that was Mark Garcia, who used to do all the events at the Centennial Terrace. He owned an internet radio station, TejanoFM.com. And actually, that's kind of where Mark and I kind of got really close. Of course, I was kind of like his right-hand guy because he was managing Tejano Sound Band, but I was also the manager of the radio station. And so I got to meet a lot of people through the radio station, through the band, through Mark, through different events. And I know we're skipping around here, but when it came time for me to start Motivo, at the time that we started Motivo, everybody in the band, with the exception of our lead singer at the time, Augie Martinez, who was from Lansing, we were all in the Toledo area. So we could literally any day of the week wanted to get together either at my place or at the neighbor's place, because the neighbor, their son used to play in my band too. Of course, life happens and some guys come in and other guys come out. And so like from the original Motivo, I am truly the last of the Mohicans. So the current lineup, mainly everybody's from Lansing. I have one guy who's out of Lake Odessa, Aaron Vasquez. So I guess let me talk about the guys real quick. So Aaron Vasquez plays accordion. He's from Lake Odessa. He's actually a great nephew to Johnny Vasquez. So there's that connection there. The rhythm section consists of Ruben and Joey Herrera. Everybody knows the Herrera family, great family, a bunch of talented musicians. So drums and bass right there. I myself do keyboards, accordion, and a couple other guitar. Yeah, I do background vocals. And we recently, I say recently, but it's been coming up on 2 years now. We snagged our lead singer from Texas. He's now living in Lansing, but he was the former lead singer for Grupo Stampede out of Dallas, Texas, and he was living in Lubbock. And so that's Rick Torres. And so we're happy to have him on board here with Motivo. And like I tell the guys in the band, like I feel fortunate that these guys that contribute to this band, you know what I mean? Of course, my name is the one that's on the contracts and stuff, but I want everybody in this group to feel like as if it is their group, because then they can feel a sense of pride, a sense of like belonging, where if it's your group, you put in more effort, right? And so I can honestly say that the group of guys that we have right now, they're really, really good about that. You know what I mean? Everybody contributes, from an idea standpoint, as far as material, what we're going to wear, the look of the band, as far as photography and graphic arts and stuff. So everybody does play a really intricate part in what the identity of the band is.
Well, that's awesome. And it's nice to see that the musicians, everybody kind of knows each other out, because the Midwest has really produced some great bands. From my experience in the last 20, 30 years, the Midwest has it going on, with their musicians. And like you said, you mentioned so many of the Saginaw families that are musicians as well. And I think that goes across the state of Michigan from the Lansing groups and from Adrian. And it's just nice to see that. And I think one of the things that, I want to make sure that we say on this program tonight is that Saginaw has a long history of having multiple New Year's dances on New Year's Eve. And the last few years, I think maybe because of COVID, that hasn't been the case. But I remember when there was dances at the CAC, and then you'd have one at the Florence Hall, you'd have one at the Civica, you'd have one at the Bridgeport Party Hall. I mean, there were multiple dances that you could choose from if you chose to go out on New Year's Eve. So it's kind of nice to see that we have that. We have a dance at the CAC, like I mentioned, with La Cooperación. and then we have the Civica dance with Motivo. So I wanted to make sure I said all that because I think it's important for the community to know, because I know some people are getting confused. They're saying, well, we want to be over at the Civica, but there's getting in line for the tickets for the CAC dance. So it's a little bit confusing. So I wanted to just kind of clarify that. So Motivo with Rolando here, Revilla, is going to be playing at the Union Civica Mexicana December 31st. And we're going to have a great New Year's Eve dance, and we're going to have the Civica food there. Of course, I'm going to be in the kitchen like always. And my producer, John, here, he's smiling, making potitos on New Year's Eve. That's my New Year's Eve. Can you believe that? But anyways, we're really happy to have you, Rolando, and the band and the guys, because you're a new band for us, really, in terms of the Union Civica hiring the band to come in. And I've got Val Blanco on here. She's excited to have Motivo at La Union Civica Mexicana. She says Johnny and Lily Vasquez, Johnny is the man. So
Oh
Val,
yeah, absolutely. Johnny's the man.
yeah, he's
And,
always been good people, and he's been in the industry for a long time, and has really given, I think, Tejano music legs in the Midwest area here. And we also have Antonio Villarreal. He says, "Do you do any work with Tejanos in Southwest Detroit? I know Tejano isn't as big here because of corridos, etc., from Mexico, but would be nice to see you." So that's somebody who's listening in from Detroit tonight. And
awesome.
and Val Blanco also says, does Motivo play any English music, and will they be playing any on New Year's Eve?
Well, sure, absolutely. That was one thing that when we started Motivo, the idea behind the band was that, of course, we know that from our roots that, we're a Tejano band, right? We play Tex-Mex music, but we also knew that with the generational changes that are happening, that we have to be able to be more universal, so we can kind of please all of the attendees, whether it's a quinceañera or a wedding or a public dance. So you can expect the majority of the music to be, cumbias and rancheras and stuff like that. But of course, we play some country, we play some pop music, we play all sorts of stuff. And, for anybody who wants to request any songs, just be sure to write it down on $100 bill, walk it right up to the stage, and we'll be sure to play that song for you.
All right. How about
I'm just kidding.
how about Tennessee whiskey? That's always
Sure,
a
man.
fans.
Okay, man, you got it. We'll get it.
Well, one of the things that is so important, for the Union Civica Mexicana, when the founders celebrated and founded the actual organization, they wanted to make sure that the culture was kept alive in the community. And so we are following a long tradition, almost 80 years from when the Civica was founded, that we're bringing this dance to the people. And there's been a long history of dances. Of course, it's we call it the historic Union Civica because the hall was built in 1960. And that was going to be one of the trivia questions I had tonight, and I just gave away the answer. But it's wonderful to see that, outside of Saginaw, the Union Civica Mexicana is also known. We're known in the communities of Lansing and Flint and Pontiac and even Toledo, Ohio. I know Los Aztecas is a band that we sometimes hire, and they come all the way from over there, as well as Los Hermanos Villegas, who, they're kind of retiring and they're starting a new band. But, it's really exciting to see, so many Midwest musicians. And I know that in conversations that I've had, when we as promoters to bringing the music to the Civic or whatever, sometimes our Midwest bands are just as good, if not better, than the bands from Texas. I said it.
Well, we appreciate that. We appreciate that sentiment. We hear that quite a bit, and honestly, the Midwest has churned out some really good musicians. I mean, there's even musicians that are native to Michigan or the Midwest area that have gone to Texas and really made names for themselves. Aaron Holler, of course, he used to play drums with Jay Pettis, and now is kind of doing some freelance stuff, has his own recording studio down there. Miguel Hernandez, who, speaking of Southwest Detroit, he was Southwest Detroit born and bred right there. And of course, there's many more. but of course, these people are kind of like the flags for us. They hold the flag high for the Midwest. Always ripping their Michigan stuff or Detroit Tigers and stuff like that, which is cool. Because, as a matter of fact, I'm wearing my Tigers gear underneath my
All right,
Motivo
go
stuff.
Tigers.
And but yeah, absolutely. I had a discussion once with somebody because there's this whole stigma that goes along with, like, oh, everything from Texas is better. People will say, oh yeah, I brought these fajitas and they were, what is dry ice and all this stuff shipped to Michigan. And I'm like, so what's the difference between the cows down there and the cows here? You know what I mean? It's like,
listen, Rolando, we got to go into commercial real quick, but you said something there. You mentioned Jay Bettis, and we're going to come back from commercial. We're going to talk a little bit about that, and you're working with Jay Bettis. So we'll be right back with more with Rolando Rivia from Motivo on Mi Gente on Air.
You're listening to Mi Gente on Air on WSGW.
Well, that went pretty quick. That was a quick session, wasn't it? I thought it seemed like it was only 5 minutes to me, and here it was 24 minutes.
Yeah, and so that's why I was saying, like, if you want me to talk, I can talk.
Yeah, I know. You went through all my questions before I could even ask them. So now
I have more to talk about. I promise I do.
I know. But we promised on the live stream that we were going to give away some free tickets tonight. And so we want to give the audience there the ability to get a free ticket. They're valued at $25 in advance or $40 for couples. But I guess we have to come up with a question to see who could win. Jonathan, you got any ideas?
So are you giving them out 1 at a time, 2 at a time, 4 at a time? What?
I think we're going to give 2 at a time. What do you think, Rolando? It's up to you.
I'm OCD, so 2 sounds good.
All right. So, to the listeners out there, let's see. What year the first person to answer correctly will get 2 free tickets to the New Year's Eve dance at the Unión Cívica Mexicana. And the question is, what year was the Unión Cívica Mexicana founded? I think I said it in the broadcast.
Yeah, earlier. You did.
Yep. So it should be
pretty
easy.
Who's paying attention?
Yeah. Who's paying attention out there? Anybody?
Might have to wait a minute. There might be a bit of a delay there. Oh, there it is.
No, you're wrong, Antonio. That is when the hall was built. But when was the actual organization founded? He said 1960. Nancy Rodarte Rodriguez, she says 1929. Sorry, sister. Graciela Faviela, again, 1960. That's when the hall was built. I guess we're going to have to keep these tickets here because we don't have anybody giving the right answer. Well, we'll keep that question out there, if you will. When was the Unión Cívica Mexicana founded? Because we have to go back into the show.
Well, I think we got time for.
We got time. Okay, David Guevara, he's out in California. David, why are you even trying for tickets when you're out in California? He says 1922. And the thing about David Guevara here is that his grandfather actually founded the Civica, and he doesn't know the answer. He said 1922. Bonk. Sorry. Mel Blanco has a big smiley face. She doesn't. Oh well, she's putting on the dance, so she really can't. She's one of the members of this. You can't win for your friends, Val. Antonio Villarreal from Detroit says 1945. Young man, you've got 2 tickets to the Unión Cívica Mexicana's New Year's Eve dance. Good job. Anyway,
all
so
right.
that was fun, wasn't it? So we'll ask another question when we come back out of the actual show at the end of the program here, but we have to go back into Mi Gente on Air, which will be broadcast on Sunday evening on WSGW on 100.5 FM and 790 AM. Sunday evening, 8 p.m. Okay, everybody listen, because it is actually the last live stream show of the year for 2022. And It's been a great year. We've had some wonderful guests, and we're going to talk about that on the show that's going to air on January 1st. Right, Jonathan? We're going to talk about my interview with Santana and my interview with Paul Rodriguez and Sandra Cisneros. So we got some exciting shows and comments that I'm going to give as the talk show host. So let's go back into the show with Mi Gente on Air with Rolando Revilla.
This is Mi Gente on Air on WSGW.
Welcome back. Welcome back to Mi Gente on Air. And, you know, I want the listeners out there to hear one of your songs, Rolando, because I want them to be familiar with the Tejano genre of music. You know, we don't just cater to the Tejano genre here, but we also have non-Hispanics who are listening to the program as well. So let us hear one of your latest songs.
A tu lado no me hace falta el sol, con tu sonrisa es más que suficiente. Y me pintas el mundo.
Okay. So tell us a little bit about that song and the singer, and a little bit about your music.
All right. So that particular song's called Por Ti, and it was a song written by Hector Ubaldo and Maite Rodriguez. Maite Rodriguez unfortunately passed away of COVID a couple years ago, or maybe it was like a year ago or something. And so we're recording another one of her songs that she sent us, prior to her passing. So, my condolences to the Rodriguez family. But yes, Por Ti was actually that was yours truly singing, because at the time we were actually in between singers, and we needed to release something, so we released it, and I sang, and during that time of COVID, we also did some live videos where we did a medley with Ray Reina, and he was on the video with us. We did one with Mark Ledesma when he did. We did like a David Lee medley, and all we did was basically play these medleys that we do in a live setting, and try to get artists that that used to sing that material and to do it with us. And some things have come to fruition based on that. Where of course, we did a small tour with Ray Reina over the summer, and he was in Saginaw.
He was at our Friday Night Live event, right?
Yep.
That was you guys.
Yep.
Yeah. And I want to mention Angela Blanco's on here. She says, I missed Motivo at Saginaw Friday Night Live. So happy I get a chance to hear them New Year's Eve at the Civica. I've seen a CD. Is that from this year?
Our latest CD is from our first album that's our latest album, but we've released a couple singles since then, and our goal is to have something in the first quarter of next year done to be able to release, to have like a full a new album with all the new material that we've been releasing, and of course with our new singer Rick Torres. But that'll be happening hopefully at the beginning. We already have all at the beginning of next year. We already have all the material, and we're still working on the arrangements and all the pre-production stuff. But of course, right now my plate's a little full as far as the recording stuff, because there are
you're in demand.
There are other projects.
Demand, right?
One project in particular is consuming most of my time right now.
Well, let's talk a little bit about that. But I do want to say that the CD that generously you are giving a CD to all attendees to the New Year's Eve dance at the Civic. Is that what year was that CD from?
Larry, I don't like these questions. I'm just kidding. I think it was from 2018, 17. So it's been a few years, but it's got 10 songs, I believe. It's a 10 or 12. It's a full length album. It's not an EP, and it's got a lot of great songs on there. But because we're anticipating the new album, we want to make sure that everybody has the old album. So if you guys come to Saginaw to come see us perform at La Unión Cívica, everybody that walks through the door will get a free CD. And whether you have it or not, fine. You can keep it, give it away as a white elephant gift. You can use it as a coaster. You can sell it, make some money off of it. I don't know, But everybody who will be coming through the door will get a free Motivo CD. We'll also have some other merchandise for sale. We'll have T-shirts for sale, koozies. I think we sold out of shot glasses, but we used to have shot glasses and a bunch of stuff. I'll have to see with our merch person, aka my wife Bianca, who I want to send a shout out to, and my son Baby Ro, who I don't know if they're watching. I'm sure they are. But anyways,
let me get a question in here.
Yeah.
The question.
Okay.
You talk about Ray Reyna, a legend in Tejano music, and Tejanita is one of my favorite songs. We got to see him this summer at Friday Night Live. But you're also been working with Jay Perez, and everybody knows Jay Perez is the voice, la voz, in Tejano music. Tell me about these collaborations that you as a musician are having with some of the big names in Tejano music.
Yeah, well, man, I'm telling you, I think a lot of it just has to do with just being at the right place at the right time, especially like I was saying, like early on with like the radio station and bringing me to Toledo. But the Rey Reina thing and the thing with Mark Ledesma and those guys, that all kind of happened because, I mean, as musicians, myself in particular, I'm a working musician, so this is my day job. You know what I mean? Recording music and playing music. And when they pulled the plugs on all the venues, we didn't have anything else to do but to try to be creative. And so, the guys in the band at the time, we were talking about, we saw a couple other people kind of do like at home sessions and stuff like that. So we kind of did remote sessions where everybody kind of recorded their parts at home, and then we kind of put them all together. And we were like, hey man, wouldn't it be cool if we could get, Rey Reina on there? And literally, everybody's like, oh yeah, that'd be great. So it was literally like, well, what do we have to lose? He's not doing anything. We're not doing anything. Let's just message him. And I messaged him, and he just replied back. He's like, yeah, I'd love to do it. He's never even heard of us. He didn't know who I was or anything, but it was just a matter of just asking for it. And it happened, man. And then after that, he was excited to be working with the band, especially when he came to the Midwest. And he was talking about wanting to record some material together, but of course that hasn't happened yet. But moving forward to the thing with Jay Perez is the longtime keyboardist / producer / musical director of the Jay Perez band, Mario Ortiz. He left last year, kind of maybe around this time or maybe in January. Nonetheless, he went to pursue on his own thing, which left Jay with the void of needing somebody that could fill all of those shoes, or wear all of those hats, however you want to put it. But at any rate, the person who took over as the musical director is Jonathan McGraw, who's originally from Adrian, Michigan. And so when they were looking for a keyboardist, he's like, hey man, you ready to move to Texas? I said, I'm not moving to Texas, man. I love the Midwest. I'm staying here. I mean, I'm flattered by the requests and all that, but I have my home and my family, and I'm good where I'm at. So he had told me, well, we're going to be hitting you up maybe for some production work. I'm like, okay. And I didn't think anything of it. But the other person who was really, really, really instrumental in making this happen is Fabian Hernandez. Fabian is the saxophonist / everything else in the Jay Perez band. He's been doing a lot of work for me, for my clients, when clients need saxophone work or whatever. He was my go-to, or he is my go-to guy. I hire him for almost everything. And he's the one that said, hey brother, you should really try to see about doing this Jay Perez project, because they're quickly wanting to move on this, and they're looking for a producer. I was stoked. I was like, well, I'd be more than excited to, or more than happy to be part of it. And so he and I put a demo together, and he and McGraw showed it to Jay, and Jay loved it. So they told him, okay, well, now talk to Freddie Martinez from Freddie Records, and he said, okay, tell him that this is the guy who's going to be doing the album. And so I got the job, and we're almost done. We started in April, and it moved along really quickly. But then, of course, they get busy, I get busy, and but yeah, we hope to have the whole album done for Jay, maybe in the next few weeks, actually. But of course, they have to do promo and stuff, so the album won't be out till February.
Well,
from what
that
I
really speaks volumes about your musicianship, because you've got, one of the heavy hitters in Tejano, the Tejano genre, who is utilizing your talents from the Midwest. And I think, with even Ray Reyna, with the collaboration you did with him over the summer, I mean, that really speaks volumes, Rolando. I mean, you're from the Midwest, and you've got these big hitters in Texas who are requesting your talent. I mean, that's really saying something. How do you feel about that? How's that make you feel? You can be
Larry,
humble.
I don't like these questions. No, I'm just kidding. No, it's very surreal, man. Like sometimes I just think to myself, like, man, like of course, because like growing up listening to Tejano music, Jay Pettis was a staple in my in my home, growing up. But man, sometimes when I work with somebody like that I listened to my whole life, and then like it's in the flesh and things are happening at that time, it's almost like, man, is this really happening? I'll name drop a little bit, but I've worked with Jay, with Ram, with let's see, and then I've gigged with Jesse Serrata, David Maris, New Variety Band. Man, I mean, there's been a lot of times where there's been opportunities for whatever reason, it just lines up where I've been able to be part of those things, man. And I don't know if it was memorable enough for them to be like, oh yeah, I remember that Rolando guy. But for sure, Ram and Jay and a couple of those other guys that I mentioned, Chris Rodriguez from Tejano Highway 281, those guys, I've worked with them and worked with them closely, especially now with Jay. Yeah, and it's brought me other work. Like I've done small work for Gilbert Velasquez, who's a 16-time Grammy Award-winning producer, who used to record all of Jay's stuff, and David Lee, Mas, La Mafia, and so to be able to do some little things for him, it's still kind of cool, because I mean, I aspire to be what he has done to Tejano music, you know what I mean? So of course, yeah, I don't know, it feels surreal, I guess, if I had to answer it in one word, and humbling, I guess. It makes me excited. It makes my inner child extremely happy.
Well, congratulations to your success. And, I want to ask you, your influences, you are probably all those people that you've just mentioned. You probably had a number of influences, but tell me, who are your influences today in the new Tejano movement that has been happening? Because, there's a whole nother generation of musicians from, say, the heyday of what we consider the heyday of Tejano music in the 90s.
Mm-hmm. Well, the people that I'm listening to these days that are kind of, quote unquote, new, or the new style of Tejano music, of course, one of them is anything that Gabriel Zavala does, man, because he's a great producer. And of course, his wife, Stephanie Montiel, they put on a great show. They have I think he has a really good pulse. He can feel the pulse of what's happening, and all of his productions are really, really good, regardless of who it is, whether it's Savannah V or Stephanie or whoever. He's done some stuff with some bands from Florida and some other bands. I think there was one that was called Completo that excuse me. So all of those bands that he's worked with, those are all really good bands that I kind of listen to kind of see excuse me, where the direction of Tejano music is going. But as far as let's see, other people that I listen to, Isabel Marie, who's she's great. I had the opportunity to perform with her a few times. and of course, I'm drawing blanks here, but yeah, there's a lot of the twins from Colorado, Emmanuel J and Emiliano, all those guys. They kind of did like a COVID thing too, where they kind of recorded remotely, and um, they did some medleys in tribute to some of their favorite Tejano artists, to Emilio J,
Yeah.
so on and so on. But
Well,
yeah, of course, those guys are putting out a lot of great music too, and so
let me
I keep
let you take a drink of water there or whatever you're drinking and ask this.
Fresca.
Val Blanco actually says, "What Tejano artist would you love to work with?"
Gee, that's kind of a tough question, because the short answer is anybody who wants to work with me, because I love working with whoever. But if I had my choice, I mean, really, my choice would have been Jay Pettis, but that's happening, right? So I guess it'd either be Joe Lopez or La Mafia, because those three groups right there were really like instrumental in what my style is. You know what I mean? As far as arrangement ideas and stuff, Mas especially, and La Sombra. The earlier versions of La Sombra had a lot of really good Tejano vibes to it.
Legends in the industry, and it's really exciting for me to hear that somebody from Michigan is working with these different artists, and it shows the talent that we do have here in the Midwest, and you're kind of leading that pack, with Rolando Revilla Productions, right? That's the company that you own. So congratulations on all that and what you
Thank
do.
you.
Really. And I want to ask you, what does the attendees of the New Year's Eve dance here in Saginaw, what do they have to look forward to from Motivo playing at the historic Civica?
Well, they can look forward to a good show. We try to pay attention to detail when it comes to our show, as far as the lighting and the visuals and stuff like that. Also, we're going to try to play a lot of classics from the heyday, as you were saying, from the golden age of Tejano music. We'll play some covers. We'll also play some original stuff. We'll play some English stuff. And the camaraderie of the guys in the band is so dense that like it just spills over onto the stage. Our little inside jokes, our little inside sort of things, you know what I mean, that we're accustomed to, and that kind of like spills over into the live performance. But I wanted to circle back around on something that you were saying, that as far as like leading the pack. I don't consider. I mean, I appreciate the
Accolade.
sentiment, right? But in reality, like I'm just one person who likes to play music with other people. But I have to say that, and this is just my humble opinion, that the only reason that that I have any kind of quote unquote success in Tejano music is because of the people that I've surrounded myself with, you know what I mean, and the people that I've listened to, and and I'll say this with all respect and everything, but man, there's some guys out there that I look up to that are just incredible musicians that, I mean, even to this day, like it just amazes me, you know what I mean? People who play the same instruments that I do, Hernandez, Daniel Daco, like all these people are just great musicians. And even the guys that are in the band right now and have been in the past, they all bring something to the table. You know what I mean? The band or the company or whatever is never one person. Of course, there always has to be the face to a company, right? Like you're the face of Mi Gente, but of course you have your producer and a bunch of other people in the background that are making this happen, right? And the same thing with me is that I appreciate that you're giving me this space to speak, but I want everybody to know that it's not just me. Like these guys that jam with me, they're incredible musicians, every single one of them, and they're great people. And so hopefully when you guys come to see us perform, you guys can see that chemistry that we have, on stage in a live setting, and of course a lot of high energy, a lot of great music. We're going to try to play to the best of our ability, like we always do. But yeah, I guess that's what they can expect.
That's awesome. That's really exciting to hear. And Angela Blanco, she's saying, have any young musicians out there in the Midwest approach you asking for guidance to get started in a band? And are you seeing
Yeah,
the younger generation interested in Tejano music?
absolutely. There's another Rolando who's downstairs right now, and he loves Tejano music. My son, Rolando the third, he loves and he has different tastes than I do, and it's okay that he does. He and you can ask him like, "What's Dad's favorite band?" And he'll say Jay Pettis, and he'll say, "What's Mom's favorite band?" He's like, "Oh, Signo." And what's your favorite Signal song? He's like, "Oh, I like Hashtag." And what's your favorite band, Ro? And he'll say, "Oh, my favorite band's Masore." Because he likes Masore, which they're not really Tejano, but he likes Mexican music and he knows the difference. He knows the difference between a ranchera and a cumbia and all that. But on a more serious note, part of being a working musician is trying to. There's a saying in Spanish that's called that says "de gotita se hace el charco," which means by little raindrops you get a puddle, right? So like I do little things here and there. One of the things that I do, I have a website that's called TejanoKeyboard.com, and it's an educational platform where I'm trying to teach people how to play instruments, right? Mainly keyboard, but I have students throughout the U.S. that are wanting to learn Tejano music. And so I've got a couple of students here in Toledo that come and learn. I have a couple of two brothers that are actually from Oklahoma, and they play Tejano music too, and they're all really young. There was one kid who was coming here for a little bit, and he was like 6 or 7 years old, and he was playing accordion. He was wanting to learn. So yeah, I mean, the future is bright for Tejano music. I think, you know what I mean, as far as keeping the culture, I don't like saying alive, but like making it relevant and letting people know about where we come from and to be proud of that.
Awesome. Nicely said. I want to mention real quick before we've only got 3 minutes here left in the show and it's gone really fast, but I do have to mention that we've got a very important weekend coming up, and that's involving the Tamale Taste Off, the 12th annual. That's going to be at Newville Catholic Central High School in the gymnasium. We've got 12 tamale makers that are going to be competing for the trophies. We've got best tamale maker, and then we got also the People's Choice Award. And so we're excited for that. That's going to be happening this Sunday, December the 18th. And then we've also got Christmas with Angels. That's happening December 17th at the Unión Cívica Mexicana. And we have raised $25,000 as an organization, as a nonprofit. And we're going to be helping about 138 children this Christmas with the gift of Christmas. 50 families that were chosen. And we know we can't help everybody. We had like 170 applications, and we had to dwindle it down to 50 families. So a lot's happening. And then, of course, we've got the New Year's Eve dance happening December 31st. And there's going to be a dance over at the CAC. Tony Martinez is putting that on with La Cooperación from Lansing. And then we at the Civica are putting on a dance, and we're going to have our great food from the kitchen, the patito dinners and the menudo. And we're going to have Motivo with Rolando Rivia, who's with us tonight. And we thank you so much. Any last words, Rolando?
I hope to see everybody out there. If you guys are interested in more information, be sure to check us out on all digital platforms as far as our music is concerned. We're also on all social media. Well, most of them. We're on, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and the handles for anything regarding us is Rolando y Motivo. So be sure to check that out. Check out our websites, reviamusic.com, TejanoKeyboard.com. And yeah, we're looking forward to putting on a great show for everybody there in the Saginaw area and people who are traveling to the area. So we hope to see you guys and bring in 2023 with a bang.
Well, thank you so much again for being with us. Rolando Rivia from Motivo. They're playing at the Unión Cívica Mexicana on December the 31st as we bring in the new year. And I just want to thank all my listeners out there and say the holiday season is upon us. And I want to wish you a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year from Mi Gente on Air, from me and Jonathan Dent here in the studio, my producer. We'll see you again soon, and we hope you have a prosperous new year. Thank you, everybody. Hasta luego. So there you have it. Another great show with Rolando Revilla with Mi Gente on Air. And we're going to give away some more tickets. So we've got Angela Blanco, who said, great show, gentlemen. And we've also got Antonio Villarreal. He's saying, excited to see you, hermano. We have Jose Pezaña, who says, what's up, fellas? How you doing tonight? We had a great audience tonight, didn't we? And Jonathan, and my producer, I always give Jonathan the opportunity as the non-Hispanic in the room to talk about what he is listening to. What do you think, Jonathan?
Okay. Don't kick me out here. I want an explanation of, because I've obviously heard some Tejano music, but what are the characteristics that separate Tejano music? What are the identifying characteristics of that?
Well,
the genre.
I know the answer probably, but I think Rolando could probably
He's
answer
probably the
it
expert
best.
there.
Yes, Rolando, tell us.
Well, the only way that I can describe it is that when you go eat Mexican food, people ask you, do you want Mexican food or do you want Tex-Mex? Because those are two different things, you know what I mean? And stylistically, they just have different aromas, different flavors. And so when it comes to the difference between Tejano music and, like, say, Mexican music, of course, a lot of it just sounds like oompa, oompa, oompa. But I think that Tejano music has more of an Americanized sheen to it. Like, there's a little bit more attention to production detail. And that's not to say that productions from Mexico don't have that. Of course, everywhere you go, there's great productions now. But as far as, like, arrangements, they seem more Americanized, like more influenced by things that are happening in America. And I think that kind of transcends borders, because even in Mexico, like in Monterrey, Tejano music is really popular there. So to describe it, it's like Mexican music with things that you would kind of hear in pop music, like kind of blended together.
I'm glad you said
a little
that,
bit of kind.
how I would describe it, just as someone who doesn't really know.
Well,
Yeah.
Gary Jimenez, he's out there in Lubbock, Texas. He's a Saginaw born, though, and he says horns and keyboards is what I notice. So
Yep. Yeah, of course. The instrumentation obviously lends itself more to Tejano music, when you have keyboards versus just accordion. But there's also plenty of Tejano groups that are accordion only that aren't necessarily considered norteño or conjunto, or like Los Desperados. They have accordion and no keyboards or horns, but they are definitely considered a Tejano staple. So there's some gray area. It's all in the feel. For those of you who are kind of musically inclined, the one thing that I've always noticed is that Mexican music is heavy on the downbeat, and Tejano music is heavy on the backbeat because it's more dancing music. So Mexican music will sound more boom, 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 and Tejano sounds more ah, 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 as that more upbeat sort of feel. So, like, on the and, so instead of 1, 2, 3, 4, it's 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and that, to me, is what makes Tejano sound a little bit more apart from other Mexican music.
Tejano 101.
Yeah,
that's great. Only somebody, a musician, could do that, what you just did. So thank you so much for that. I have a question. I want to know of my audience out there, for 2 tickets, who is the Unión Cívica Mexicana queen? And nobody from the members can answer this question. Anybody? And I think that's a good question, because she was just crowned in the last month, I think in November, and she's our new queen, the face of the Unión Cívica Mexicana. So for 2 tickets to see Motivo at the New Year's dance? Answer that question. And Joanne Lachana Ortiz, she says, I'm a queen of dancing. She said she's yeah. So come on, anybody out there, who is the Union Civica queen, the current queen of the longtime civic organization?
Well, looking back through our previous episodes, I can tell you who the last Civica queen was.
Who? Tell me.
Alejandro Fulgencio.
Yes, Alejandro Fulgencio is a great queen. She was on here on our show last month, I think it was, and you know, it's always nice to see the new queens. Diana Rivera, who's from Lance, she says Eusebia Ramirez. Nope, she was the queen probably about 5 years ago. I think that was Diana's niece. And it's nice to see that Guillermo Lopez from Lansing is on here. He says, good show, fellas. I believe he's on the Board of Education in Lansing. And if I'm wrong, correct me, Guillermo. Also, we have on here from David Guevara, I guess. He's from San Diego. I'm getting my cities mixed up here. He's on here watching. Val Blanco says Robert Connie Flores. She's giving you a hint. Diana Rivera says she misunderstood the question. And hello, Rolando. She's saying hi to you. And
Hello.
Antonio Villarreal, who's from Detroit, says I went to school with Marisela Reyes, who was the queen about 6 years ago. So I mean, there's a lot of connections to the Civica here with these queens. But if nobody's going to get it because we can't be here forever, I'm going to have to give you the answer. But Sonia Sotelo, she says she's watching from Milwaukee. Man, we've got a lot of people from
all over the place.
All over the place, all over the United States. That's awesome. But the queen for 2022-2023 is Miss Jayla Flores. And that's Robert and Connie Flores' daughter. So these tickets are going to go to whoever I want. No, no, but anybody who wants to get a ticket for the New Year's dance with Motivo, you can go to the Union Civica Mexicana website, and that's www.saginaunioncivica.com. And the tickets you can buy either single or you can buy as a couple for $40. So $20 each if you get somebody to buy it with you or you're a couple. But we have to go. Thanks for Guillermo Lopez. I just want to say thanks for mentioning it. Yes, I am a trustee on the Lansing School Board of Education. I knew it was something. But thank you, everybody, for tuning in and being a part of Mi Gente on Air, because that's what it's about. It's about the people, Mi Gente, my people. And I can't believe that we're going to be celebrating 28 years in 2023 with Mi Gente magazine. And my third year here at Mi Gente on Air at WSGW. So thank you, everybody, for support. And we'll see you at the New Year's Eve dance with Rolando Rivia and Motivo on December 31st. Adios.